Namaste. Welcome to the Everyday Thought from the Speaker's Yoga Diary, Volume 2, Day 76. This video is about the outsider and the insider. Who is an outsider and who is an insider? The more you read books, the more you become an outsider. Because every book is a piece of knowledge about something outside of you. It is about the matter outside of you. The more you become an outsider, the more you become an intellectual. An intellectual's job is to reason out. An intellectual deliberately questions and investigates the phenomenon outside. The more you become an intellectual, the more you become egoistic and arrogant because the more knowledge you gain, the more arrogant you become. The self gets enlarged. The petty self becomes huge. So, therefore, the more you become knowledgeable, the more egoistic and arrogant you become. And the more egoistic and arrogant you are, then the more corrupt you become. Because all knowledge corrupts you, it enhances your ego, it makes you diabolical in the world, it makes you distinguish you from the other, and you think that you are great as you know something. Therefore, this arrogance of knowledge corrupts your thinking. It is this sheer bookish knowledge that makes you arrogant and, of course, in most cases, stupid. Stupid because we all the time relate ourselves to the outside world, and we think that which we see outside is real, true, and actual. Therefore, it makes us stupid because we cannot go beyond that. We cannot think beyond the world that we see, the matter that we investigate, the matter that we question, the phenomenon that we study. So you quote extensively this scholar, this intellectual, that intellectual, this scientist, that scientist, this book and that book, and so on. So you extensively quote your wide reading and scholarship in debates and arguments and show off. On the other, the more you read your mind and heart, the more you become an insider. Because when you start reading your mind, your heart, you are reverting the whole process of inquiry. So you are looking into yourself, so you become an insider. You examine what is happening inside you. But an outsider always thinks about the outside world. He is more concerned about the outside. He is not concerned about the inside. So the insider, when he moves inside, what appears there is only his own mind, his own petty self, his own heart. So the more you look into yourself, the more you become an insider. And the more you become an insider, the more you lose your petty self. Your entire thinking process is totally reverted. There is nothing like thinking when you look into yourself. Thinking comes into effect when you start looking outside. When you start looking into yourself, then thinking stops. That what happens inside you is that you simply watch the entire thought process, the thoughts that are happening, the thoughts that are coming like a stream, that are happening like pieces of clouds moving in the sky. So there is no room for thinking. The moment you start looking into yourself, so the more you lose your petty self, the more you become reflective. You start reflecting on what this thought is. Why is it happening to me? What is its nature? What is its function? How is it formed? Why I am being troubled by this clutter of thoughts, and so on. So you become reflective. The more you become reflective, the more you become intuitive. Intuition is nothing to do with your reasoning and imagination. It goes beyond these two realms of mind, thinking and imagining. Intuition happens when these two spheres of mind stop, when thinking and imagining come to a standstill. Then you enter into a different state of your mind, and this state is called intuition. But it's very difficult to stay in that state for long. It happens like a flash in the sky, in the dark sky. But there is this state of which we are not aware, because we are more wedded to these two spheres of mind, namely thinking and imagining. We have never tried to go beyond these two spheres. We have never thought that there is a state like called intuition that goes beyond the realms of thinking and imagining, and where there is the presence of these two spheres, namely thinking and imagining, you are more concerned about the outside world. The moment you revert inside, then you will discover a new state called intuition. Intuition is primarily an inside phenomenon. It's nothing to do with the outside. It is nothing to do with the thinking and imagining. So the more you become reflective, the more you become intuitive. It is only in this state that you can grasp the truth. You can comprehend your nature. You can understand the real phenomenon. You can deeply become sensitive only in that state. But when thinking and imagining operate, you will never become deeply sensitive. So, intuition has that power to make you deeply sensitive, deeply responsive. It can happen only when you go inside, when you revert the whole process of looking outside, turn to yourself, then you will become an insider. Then you will become the tremendous power that lies within you. And that power is called intuition, which cannot be grasped by these two spheres, namely thinking and imagining. So the more you become intuitive, the more wisdom flows in you. Wisdom happens only in that state of intuition, not in thinking and imagining. In thinking, you create knowledge. In imagining, you create art. All art is a product of imagination. All knowledge is a product of thinking. But wisdom is a product of intuition that you need to know. So truth can happen only in that state, and you can comprehend the truth only in that state of intuition and not in the state of thinking and imagining. What you understand, true thinking and imagining, is partial. It is about the matter outside you. But about the matter outside you is not real. It is real to the extent it has its own relevance and significance. But that matter keeps changing. That is its property. The property of matter is to change. Therefore, the truth that you discover through thinking and imagining about the matter outside you is never constant. It keeps changing, and it is not the ultimate. So, when you go inside, you will discover yourself a realm called intuition, wherein you can capture, understand the truth, and wisdom flows. So, wisdom flows within, knowledge flows outside. Knowledge is outside of us, wisdom is inside of us. Wisdom springs from us, within us, but knowledge comes from outside. As the speaker has just now said, all knowledge is related to the outside world, the matter that you see, which is not real. It is not real because it keeps changing. It is never constant in its own form and shape. Its form and shape keep changing and they're never permanent. Therefore, the knowledge keeps changing, but wisdom is constant, permanent, and eternal. It never changes. So, this is what you discover when you dwell inside, when you go inside. So, you become more reflective, you become more introspective, you become more intuitive, and thereby wisdom flows. And so, the outsider is only 1,000th part of the insider that takes the form of intellect. So the intellect is the creator of knowledge, and knowledge corrupts the intellect, which in turn corrupts the knowledge. It is for this reason the man of character or wisdom trusts discipline that comes from within and not from without. Any discipline that comes from outside uh, is constantly resisted. It cannot stand because it comes from outside, that discipline, and that discipline comes from the knowledge that you have generated by studying the phenomenon outside of you. So the man of character and wisdom trusts discipline that comes from within and not without because it lasts forever. And he knows that which comes from outside is corrupted and temporary. Hence, the man of character and wisdom will remain silent and poised in all situations and keep aloof while others dance like monkeys in their knowledge glorified self. So, the more you turn to yourself, the more wisdom flourishes. As the wisdom comes out from you, then you become silent, more and more silent, more and more reflective, more and more contemplative, more and more meditative. Namaste. Thank you very much for listening. Good wishes.